Hello everybody, and welcome to the Thursday, 4th of July issue or edition of Video Clips. And I told you I'd make an announcement. I'm going to. And just remember, as you listen to this, we're going to pull the trigger next Tuesday so that my folks could have a weekend off, because they sure are working hard on this and many other things, okay? I've been promising for a few weeks that we were going to take action to address the current and unfortunate situation in which we now all find ourselves. Today is the day that we begin this, and in this video I'm going to explain our plan. It's about 15 minutes long. I ask you to please watch the entire video so you know the details and won't have to all email me to ask questions, okay? On March 10th, I'll just go back to the beginning, I posted a video about COVID-19 on my YouTube channel, and at the time it didn't seem like such an extraordinary thing. I regularly investigate and report on new developments in healthcare. But what followed was most extraordinary. I'm used to incompetent and overreaching government, and I've become used to incompetent and bad behavior in organized medicine. After all, I've been writing about this for many, many years. But I never imagined that within a few short weeks, a few very bad people, with the help of government and the medical profession, could destroy life and society as we know it. Our liberties and freedoms have been taken away with breathtaking speed. Elected politicians became rulers, kings and queens and emperors, and along with health officials, instituted policies that are reminiscent of life in Nazi Germany or in communist countries today. For a while, I held out the hope that at some point in time this would be over and our former lives would be restored. Looking back, this was wishful thinking. Despotic regimes have never voluntarily given up their power. And make no mistake about it, the people controlling our lives right now are despots. The term despot, by the way, is defined as a ruler who holds absolute power, typically one who exercises it in a cruel or oppressive way. These are people who think it's okay for older people to be locked in a room without access to family or any human contact for months. They think it's okay for a dying child to lie in the hospital and not be permitted to be with both parents at one time at the end of life. They think it's okay to lie to their subjects daily and to censor anybody who tries to tell the truth about what's really going on. In fact, these despots refer to living under their draconian rule as the new normal. They tell us the size of the groups we're allowed to associate with. They tell us to stand on circles on the floor. They tell us we can't sing. They tell us to wear masks and stand 6 feet apart from other humans. We're not free people right now. We lost most of our rights a few months ago, and the rulers often threaten to take them away again if we don't behave. Stand in the circle, wear the mask, don't congregate, or if there's a spike, and there will be spikes, even if they have to be invented, just like this fake pandemic was invented. There's no end to the mandates and rules and regulations they have in mind for us. And I think that we have to avoid the tendency to want to say, I'm so grateful that the ruler I'm living under has allowed me to go out or to buy flowers, that I don't have to worry about this anymore. There are going to be more and more rules, and there's no question that one that's coming very soon is a requirement for vaccinations and immunity passports and tattoos to even be able to leave our homes and go anywhere or do anything. This is like a dystopian nightmare from which we can't wake up, but we've got to wake up and we've got to do something about it. Well, many well-meaning people are circulating petitions and sending emails to politicians and writing letters and showing up at meetings, and I think we should all continue to do that. Detailed and well-researched information has been prepared and presented to our rulers, showing that their policies are ill-advised and harmful. As we've seen, the despots are not interested in science and in fact are not interested in our welfare at all. We're not going to change the minds of people who are capable of hurting us in such egregious ways, but there is something we can do. We can unite. The tens of millions of Americans who are fed up with this insanity can get together and we can declare our independence from tyranny. And today we start. We're going to have to work to make ourselves free people again. In fact, we the people are announcing a new normal to the despots. It's called citizens in charge. Politicians actually are not the boss of us. They only have jobs because we elect them, and we can unelect them. And health officials, they have no authority over our lives either. Here's a message for all of the despots out there, and you absolutely know who you are. Your 15 minutes are up, because starting right now, citizens are in charge. And if you think that we're kidding, I think you should reconsider. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to explain how this is going to work and why and how you can get involved. And there are 2 parts to this. They're both very important, but I'm going to explain part 1, step 1. We begin to form a huge group of Americans around a very simple and easily understandable platform. And I will give you reasons for all of this. I've been working on this for a long time. And here it is, quote, "I want the freedom to accept or reject vaccination for myself and my minor children. The state or federal government cannot force me or my minor children to be vaccinated without my express permission," end of quote. We are one-issue voters. We agree to vote for politicians who are for our platform, and we vote out those who are not. We make this choice regardless of party affiliation and without any consideration for political issues, understanding that there is no issue that is more important than the basic freedom from unwanted and potentially dangerous medical intervention. If you agree with this platform, you join our group. If you don't, well, don't then. Simplicity is very important in getting done what we want to get done. Part 1, Step 2. As we develop our database of people who are of like mind, we help them connect with one another at the local level in order to fight against remaining COVID-related restrictions. We've seen that large numbers of people defying lockdown restrictions usually get away with it. A great example is the recent protests and riots. Thousands of people were in one place without social distancing and not wearing masks, and nothing happened. Others include entire counties that have notified their rulers that they're opening up, and sheriffs who've informed their rulers that they're not going to enforce their rules, and huge churches that have held services in packed rooms with singing aloud. There's strength in numbers, and people need to be able to connect with large numbers of like-minded people so they can join forces, put pressure on government officials, and even engage in massive civil disobedience if necessary. The despots have not yet built concentration camps, usually referred to as re-education centers in other countries ruled by despots, but this is most likely coming soon, so we need to act now. Remember, the government spent hundreds of millions of dollars building temporary hospitals, and it happened overnight, so don't think that they can't do this, or they won't. It's very important that we stay focused, razor focused, on the simplicity of our approach. Everyone can understand it, everyone can explain it, and it's a yes or no question for a politician. Simplicity is key since we've already seen that complicated approaches do not work. And once again, I'm going to emphasize how important it is to focus on a single thing around which we can unite. We can tackle other issues later, but this one's important. If we lose on this one, it's losing big time. There will be no end to what they can do to us. Part 2, and this is where things get exciting, involves activities we think are important to the types of people who are interested in our simple platform. Freedom from unwanted and harmful medical intervention. So Step 3, we will provide resources and guidance for parents who decide to withdraw their children from schools, different from schooling at home, as directed by the despots while your kids are still enrolled in public or private school. Studies show that 40% of parents are actually considering this, and more would do it if they knew how. There are a couple of reasons for this. Many parents have discovered their kids weren't learning much at school, and the psychological damage that will result from the draconian rules, as I talked about yesterday, to wear masks, stay 6 feet apart from other children, no shared supplies, no lunch, no recess, and riding to school in a bus with one child in every other row, not a great idea. Some states have already passed laws mandating that children receive dozens of vaccines as a prerequisite for enrollment, and many are considering adding mandatory COVID vaccines when they're available too. Parents will need assistance in choosing online schools and a curricula, identifying parents, adults, or babysitters who can supervise children whose parents work outside the home, arranging local activities for homeschooled children like social gatherings, sports, arts and theater classes, and field trips. For the record, homeschooled kids do not lack social interaction or any other benefits of traditional schools. We'll have a resource center built within the next few days to assist parents in making the transition. In addition to providing better education and protecting children from ridiculous and harmful rules and vaccine mandates, increased homeschooling will provide another great benefit. School districts receive some of their funding based on enrollment. Declining enrollment means less funding, and some buildings may even have to close. Many parents may choose to just homeschool no matter what, but some schools may decide that because of the withdrawal, the level of withdrawal, that they have to change their ways and go back to being normal again. Step 4, we develop a network of lawyers who will represent people whose civil rights are being violated by any government official or agency, and who will help to organize class action lawsuits when warranted. Lawsuits for lack of income, loss of income, destruction of businesses, and wrongful death, mental and emotional abuse, and violations of civil rights are just a few that we have in mind. Families of children who've gone backwards academically should sue. There is no reason for this to happen. Until we can get rid of the despots, we need to keep them busy in court day after day after day and find ways to go after them personally. Government officials normally have an enormous amount of immunity, and they rarely face consequences for anything that they do, but they have stepped so far over the line right now that we must find ways to punish them and make this behavior extremely unattractive to anybody who replaces them in the future. And then step 5, we collectively agree to help businesses that are struggling to survive. We purchase anything we can from them, offer business advice, financial support when possible, and assistance in relocating, negotiating with landlords, and other help as needed. I've done a lot of this locally, but we think eventually when we reach some critical mass and with some time, we can start to connect people on this level too. The first thing, however, is we have to start with a very simple thing and get this done. So I want to talk about the rationale for doing things this way. Very important. First thing you might be thinking is, why join with us? We have the organizational capacity to do it. We have been in business for 25 years. We do business in 33 countries, and we have significant staff and volunteers and resources. We have collectively a considerable amount of political experience. We have infrastructure to support the project. And I receive tens of thousands of emails every week. And a lot of you are asking us to do it. And I think that sometimes when you're asked, you just do it. So we're doing it. How will we fund this? Well, we're taking a bit of a leap of faith here, but I'll tell you, we've somehow always been able to afford our big ideas for the entire time we've been in business, 25 years. But to keep things simple, if you want to help us financially, buy things from us, memberships, products, and educational courses. We'd rather give something of value to you, and call me prejudiced, and I am, but I think our stuff is amazing, than ask you to just give us money. And when you just give money, you get into how you report it and all kinds of problems. So become members, buy our products, enroll in our courses. Why do things this way instead of trying to persuade politicians based on science? Well, we've tried that. Enormous amounts of work and money have been invested in trying to prevent and reverse vaccine mandates. Well-researched documents have been prepared for legislators, health professionals, and other experts have provided exceptional testimony, and parents have told horrifying stories about their injured children. The problem is that for every document the pro-freedom side presents, the other side presents one too. For every health professional or researcher who provides testimony, mandate advocates present one too. And they say the opposite. And for every consumer who offers a story in support of freedom of choice, a consumer who insists that anti-vaxxers are a danger to her child tells a story too. And at the end of the day, there's no winner, and petitions and emails have little impact either. A major issue, and I think we all know this, is the gargantuan amount of funding that politicians get from drug companies and medical associations. They do get donated to the politician, to political action committees, and to the political parties. It's reasonable to assume that these entities expect a return on their investment, and historically, their investment has paid off. They continue to support politicians who support their economic well-being as a result. But the limitation of political contributions is that they cannot buy votes, and what politicians want more than anything is to remain in office. Thus, blocks of voters, if large enough, can be formidable. Another problem is the complexity of the vaccine issue, with competing experts confusing research, and the ability of elected officials as a result to claim that more research is needed, more time is required for thought, or more people need to be consulted before decisions can be made. Thus, the key to swaying politicians is to make the proposition very simple. I want the freedom to accept or reject vaccination for myself and my minor children. The state or federal government cannot force me or my minor children to be vaccinated without my express permission. Are you a yes or no on this issue? And if you refuse to answer, I'm going to assume that you are a no. It's common, by the way, for state representatives and senators to win their races by only a few hundred or a few thousand votes, which means that a group of us in a district equal to the winning margin in the last election can be very threatening to a politician's future. It's not necessary, by the way, to target all pro-vaccine politicians in the legislative body. Our success in a few districts can be expected to convince others that they probably don't want to lose their elections over this issue. And one thing I want to point out is when people protest, there was a protest in California, or in Colorado recently, 3,000 people showed up to protest flu vaccine mandates. And 3,000 is a big number, but you need 13,000 in a district, all clustered in one area. 3,000 to the whole legislature. They're sitting in there laughing about where they're going to go for drinks. Oh no, I forgot you can't go for drinks afterwards. So they're sitting in there not really very concerned about it, would be the appropriate thing to say. So that's why we have to do it this way. All right, what about federal mandates? At this time, vaccine mandates are determined state by state, but there are several statutes that could potentially allow the federal government to start mandating vaccines. It's important to start organizing right now to influence state races for several reasons. first, this is where the mandates are decided right now. And second, these are easier races to influence. The districts are smaller and the number of votes we need to swing is much more manageable. And third, smaller races give us an opportunity to practice and perfect our strategy. When our group's big enough and experienced enough, we can start to target congressional races. And if we're successful in aggregating 65 million people or more, we eventually could influence the presidential election. So what resources are needed? Volunteers, obviously lots of them. We need all of you to spread the word and recruit locally. This will only work with huge numbers, so I'm counting on you. You said you wanted this and I'm going to deliver it. We'll need people to verify voter registration, analyze voting data by district, and contact legislators and arrange meetings. We'll need people to organize protests and civil disobedience and find plaintiffs for lawsuits. We need people to help parents who are homeschooling for the first time. We need people to connect people who need help to those who can give help, and so on. We need attorneys, lots of them, stated earlier the reason, and good people to run for office to replace the despots. Our biggest challenge is staying on message when we're recruiting to the cause, and that is freedom from vaccine mandates. Expansion of the mission beyond that, in terms of what we're going to do politically, would be a big mistake and lead to failure. So we're going to have to be really disciplined in the way that we approach this. The other things that I talked about in this particular video, the educational issues and that sort of thing, these are things that I think our people are involved, would like to get involved in doing, and because we all want to be helpful. But I think from a political standpoint, one issue, easy to explain to a politician, yes or no is the answer. All right, so what's going to happen next? As I mentioned, I'm giving my folks the holiday off, which was important to me and to them, but important to me too. I'm a demanding enough person to work with without making things worse. On Tuesday, you're going to want to watch the video clips because I'm going to give you the location to go to register and begin assembling our group. Okay, so watch on Tuesday. Remember that videos that are taken off of this YouTube channel go to BitChute, B-I-T-C-H-U-T-E, and we're going to firmly embed some videos in our website that can't be taken down by anybody, so that'll help too. But right now, just get everybody watching this video so they know what's coming. Watch on Tuesday, and I will tell you exactly what to do. And we are the citizens, and we are going to be in charge. So have a wonderful 4th of July, knowing that you're not free right now, even though we're supposed to be celebrating our freedom. But we can take our freedom back, and we will be free again. Thank you for watching. Pass this on to people who would benefit from watching it. I'll be back to you tomorrow with more news.